I mean, okay, that's good, I get money, I can live, but that's not what I wanted to do. Like, yeah, I had a great experience. And if you're a programmer doing part of your life doing just, let's say, boring business stuff, that's perfectly okay, because you'll learn a lot. You'll become a better programmer because you'll become, your code will become more clear. You'll learn how to work in some, fixed environment. But eventually, probably, if you're after games, you'll want to create your own studio, and that's what happened here. We created a studio called Fresh Chicken Studio. I co-founded it with my friend Japeq, who was not a demo scene guy. He came from the business, actually. It was 2005. The name was funny. When we showed this to investors and some boring business partners, we used just the FCS. We didn't show we are called Fresh Chicken Studio. One day we got this call from Ukraine with some guy asking us if we want to buy like 3 tons of chicken stuffing, the stuff that you put inside of chickens to make them tasty. We didn't buy that. I wonder if that was a good idea not to buy it, but well, now the deal is not more possible anymore. And we hired a lot of demo scene guys to that company. Why was that so? Because we needed technical skills. We wanted to make games that deliver really the technical on the technical level. We wanted to focus on emotions. As I told you before, demos, art are about emotions. So games are about emotions. So we want to have people who know what is giving emotion through your production. On a demo scene, we work in interdisciplinary teams, and that was also cool because when you take a guy who was, for example, only an artist in some, media company or a programmer from IT, he probably worked only with programmers. The guy from the media company worked only with artists, and that's not good because in a real game environment, programmers work with artists, with producers, with designers, with musicians. They sit all in one room, and they need to interact and talk to each other. That's what was happening at the demo scene. And basically, at demo scene, we love what we do. And love is much needed when you do games, because when you love what you do, what you produce is really great. Our first real game was a mini RC rally. It was released on Nintendo DS. What I'm especially proud about is that we're a totally remote team. We didn't have even an office. We had 1 programmer in Australia, 1 in US, and the rest of the team was in Europe. So if the guy in Australia woke up, we went to bed, and when we woke up, the guy in US woke up or something like that. It was totally crazy, and we managed to do a game that was sold on retail shelves for Nintendo DS. Moreover, we managed to, today Nintendo gives accreditation to most of the indie teams that want to. But back then, you had to prove you're an established company and that you have done already a game for Nintendo. That was preferred. Could you do a game for a Nintendo if you couldn't do it because you were not accredited to do so? So it was kind of vicious circle. But we managed to get the accreditation. We became an official Nintendo developer having no office. I gave a number to my brother as an office number. I told him if somebody from Nintendo calls, just pretend this is a big office and boss is out of office. And it worked. You know what? We're kind of proud of what we did because this was early days of Nintendo DS. We had one of the first Nintendo DS dev kits in Europe. We did a 3D on both screens. Initially, it was said it's not possible on DS. We did it. But the problem was the game sucked, and sucked a lot. We learned our lessons. We learned that you need to start with the fun in mind, not with the technology in mind. Technologically wise, it was great. By the way, the fact that it was technologically great became our main strength because the engine that we have built along the road, and Rafał is going to tell you a bit about engines later today. He was one of the authors, and he laid the whole foundation for the engine. That engine was really something back then. Back then, it was a good idea because there were no engines for 3DS. So it was a good idea to bring out your own engine. We improved on our game portfolio. Sadly, we improved with mostly games that weren't released later because we tend to get into cooperation with publishers that eventually went bankrupt. All that was left were some game demos, but that was great. The demos were needed at a later stage when we came to other studios saying, hey guys, we did this before. And those games looked better, played so much better. That was Right Over the River, a very cool sci-fi vertical shooter for the 3DS. Very sad that it was not finished. Then there was this Double Blobs game. A really neat idea of those blobs were bouncing off the screen. You were shooting in them. There was a crazy multiplayer mode in which one player was at the bottom of the screen and the other was upside down on the top of the screen. Sadly, it was also unreleased. By the way, when I was looking, I didn't have screenshots for the second game in my archive. That's one thing. If you do anything, save screenshots, because later on it might be difficult to find them. I searched internet for the term double blobs. That's what I got. But that's not the game we did, just in case you'll be checking that out. Eventually, Fresh Chicken Studio was sold to City Interactive Games, mainly because of the engine, and secondly because of the game demo portfolios that we could build up. City Interactive Games is Poland's one of the biggest publisher and game developers, guys from the Sniper game. Under that brand, we built a studio of almost 40 people, and that was built constantly from, we started as a team of 7 and built it up to 40 people in a semi-independent branch of City Interactive Games. We released games for Nintendo DS, for PS3, Xbox, Nintendo Wii. More than 15 titles along the road, various genres, and that was also a very nice experience to be had. I mean, working in a bigger company, seeing how all the distribution channels work, seeing how you work in a big studio, how you lead it. Me and Jakub, we led the whole studio of 40 people. But eventually, it just came so after 4 years that we have learned, well, we are kind of in a corporation now. I mean, here is a studio of 40, there are 100 people. That's cool, but games are not about corporate. There is a great experience to be had. Don't get me wrong, if you get to work along your way at, Epic Games or Ubisoft or Electronic Arts or whatever, that's cool. That's very cool. You'll hone your skills. You'll get a great experience, but at one point you'll probably get a bit bored because you will be only this little, gear in a big machine. So eventually we wanted to do something new, and that was the time that we really thought about what to do next and how to build our next company. And we just thought, me and as a kid, I loved playing games. That hasn't changed, really. No. Kids still love playing games. Most of us do. If you look at the, big hole here, everybody's playing something. We love playing games. And it just happens so that if you really enjoy something, you probably want to engage deeper. Maybe you want to become a creator, try how is it to, create a game by yourself. And that's kind of a problem, because if you love photos, you got Instagram. You don't have any skills, but you can, take a photo, apply filter, send it out and bang, you're a photographer. If you want to make some music, there are some very cool music applications. I love the Propeller Heads synthesizer. I don't remember the name, but I'm gonna give you because it's really figure for the iPhone. That's great. I cannot make music, but with this I love some electronic sounds that I can create. Well, there is even a crazy application if you like pottery, There is a virtual pottery application called Let's Create Pottery. Our friends did it, and it's selling really well. So various kind of hobbies, and you get a lot of creative apps that sell really big numbers. But there is no easy-to-use mobile game creation app. For PlayStation, we have Little Big Planet, but that's really great game. I love it. But it's only for PlayStation, and it's a bit difficult to use still. I spent 3 hours doing a small platformer there, and you know, it didn't look like something that I would show you today here. And that's the main problem. And still though, the game sold like 12 million copies or something, and more than 23% of players have created and shared with the internet at least one level. That's crazy. I mean, people really loved it. And we just thought 2 years ago, what if you could create your own Angry Birds-like game or your own Mario game right there on your mobile device with no skill, because you know, probably you're not a game developer. And how would it be? If it looked cool, played well, that's why we came with our next business idea criteria. We had some assumptions that we wanted to be true. This was a product not intended for game developers, not for guys like me, not for probably some of guys like you. It was intended for normal guys who don't know nothing about games and creating, how we create games. So the game creation had to be fun and easy. Like no single line of scripting or coding, or not even parameter setting. No technical skills required. Impressive visuals, great gameplay. You know what? People cannot do graphics. People cannot do art on average. Some can, but those who can probably do real games. If you cannot do that, you want to do that. So we want to provide you with the graphics so that you don't have to draw them yourself. And of course the ability to share your creations, because probably you are not only going to do that for yourself. All this happens on mobile devices, and 2 years ago we had no prototype, we had PowerPoint only, PowerPoint presentation. Actually it was Keynote on Mac, not PowerPoint. And you know what? We raised $1 million for the project, having no prototype. So how the hell do you do that? I mean, come on. First of all, you need a good idea. That's basic stuff and that's obvious. But a good idea that is covering some unsolved problem that exists. Unsolved problem that exists means there is some kind of niche on the market or area that is not really well covered. In our case, that was observation. There is no game that allows you to create your own games in a really easy way. Either they require you to create your graphics, or they require you to program, or the game looks shitty, simply shitty, or a lot of things happened, and usually it was all together. I mean, they required graphics, coding, and it always looked shitty at the end. And people are creative. There are various applications that I told you that show that. But if you are creating 25th copy of Angry Birds, 47th copy of Halo that wouldn't look even close to Halo, or your 5,782 attempt at recreating your own Fallout, there is only tiny chance you will succeed, and there is only very tiny chance anybody will turn their heads at. That includes also players, because imagine yourself, you got Fallout. Why would you play some really crappy Fallout? You wouldn't. You don't have infinite time in your life. And getting, you know, RPG game to the level that somebody wants to play it is a really hard task. I don't say it's impossible, I don't say you cannot succeed, but it's a really difficult situation. And still, I'm not talking only about money, I'm talking about customer satisfaction, about player satisfaction. You want your players to be satisfied, not yourself to say, yeah, I created an RPG. That's, you know, only you who created it, and you satisfied maybe your mom, and that's it. Third thing that was told yesterday, definitely during the VC presentation, your solution, your team, you as a founder, you should be scalable. Scalable means you can grow. There is place for growth. Hardly scalable businesses are those who are not in an electronic area, when you have to physically ship something, physically produce. If Apple needs to produce more iPhones, or I don't know, Samsung new Galaxies, they need, you know, to build more or hire more factories, more people. That's difficult. If you have a great successful game and you want to sell twice the number of copies, you just sit back, relax, and wait for them to be sold. because somebody handles the operation for you. If you have a server backend, the situation gets more tricky because you got more server load, more people use your application, your game, and you probably need to be careful with that. But basically those applications that happen now in the digital market, they are very scalable because usually there is no barrier in selling 10 times the number of copies that you are selling today. Experience in previous projects, portfolio, whether commercial, uncommercial, demos, fan-made mods. You probably heard of this guy who made a huge Skyrim mod recently. I think he'll get a job. Maybe not at Bethesda, but somewhere definitely. That's something. And you don't have to spend your life doing your portfolio. You just need to really do it. I see a lot of people sending, CVs telling, I want to be an artist, I want to be a programmer. And I did nothing, I just want. So if you want, go ahead. Spend your time doing what you want to do and show it to somebody. Strong team. I mean, it's not only about you, but also about having a team of people like you. And good advice, if you one day become a boss of a company, look around the guys around you. If they are better than you, that means you hired the right people, you are working with the right people. If they are worse than you, it means you hired the wrong people. Because you always need to hire people who are better than you at the jobs they do. Yes, you should be better at something, but in general, at the whole game, your team needs to be as good as possible. And the last thing is you need to show that you love what you do. The investors really look into your attitude towards your product. If you are like, yeah, I just want to get filthy rich and buy a Ferrari. Okay, maybe you'll get a filthy rich and maybe you'll buy a Ferrari, but that shouldn't be the reason behind what you do. Or you say, I just want to make a super cool game and show off to friends. Good, but that's not what should be behind all this. So, some tips on how to start your journey towards having a, game dev studio or at least a game dev team. First, with this kind of project, you need a team and you need to learn. Probably some people you know, and you can, come together and do something, but probably you need more people. That's why it's good to go to all kind of meetups and events like this, also smaller ones. If there are no events at your area, try to organize. It's not impossible. Even 20 people do, and sometimes you will meet somebody who is a great artist, and you need an artist, and you will work together from then on. There are hackathons from time to time. That's also a very good place to try to meet people. Also exchange experience. I mean, what engine are you using? Oh, we are using this and that. What's your experience? How did you get that license? How did you get your dev kits? Did you pay for that? No, they gave it to us for free. So how did you get that? Yesterday, our friends in San Francisco, they managed to get one Microsoft Surface and one Nintendo dev kit for free. So it's definitely possible. There are incubators. You got or accelerators. Incubator is for a early stage company that's only starting. Accelerator is usually for a company that has started and wants to go faster along the road. You got a startup sauna here. That's a very, very good place to be, but usually at those kind of places there is selection. You cannot just say, hi, I want to be here. You need them to want you there. So that's a good place to be. And co-working spaces. I mean, all the modern offices that look kind of like this corridor, no walls. And not only your company sitting desk to desk, but another company sitting at the desk next to you. We were at one of the most famous co-working space called Rocket Space in San Francisco, and just some unknown company sits, or almost unknown, desk to desk with the guys from Dropbox. And that's cool because they drink coffee together, they share experiences together. That's good for everybody. So co-working spaces is something that you definitely want to look into. There you can find people, there you can share experience. That's for a stage when you have a team and you want to start working somewhere. If you have this and want to start working somewhere, you probably want to have some money for that. That's more difficult part. The best you can do, but not everybody can afford that, it's so-called bootstrapping. It means you got money from some other resources, like you have a second job, or you have a family that supports you, or you got a really rich friend that supports you. But that's the best way to do, because then you use your own money for living or funding your company, and that means you are not selling yet to anybody. And remember one thing, the later you sell, the more money you are going to get out of it. Because as I said, you don't start with money in mind as your target, but you need to think about it. Eventually, at one point, you want this probably to be a good business. And if that happens, and you got a great game, good business, worldwide success, then why not have the money? So remember, if you are thinking about your future as some kind of a bigger studio, think about doing as much as you can before you go talk to any kind of VC and stuff like that. The later you go, the better for you. So bootstrapping, finding another job, like doing whatever you want, it can be totally unrelated to game development. Finding some money, finding help from your family. If you are young, you don't need much. You just need computer, something to eat, place to sleep, and that's all. Some friends, and that's enough. So that's a very good idea. The next step is angel investors. In Europe, it's hard to achieve because in Europe, the angel investors are very few. Those are the rich guys that are still guys, not big companies, that look for companies that are promising and give them money. In the USA, it's a very common way of achieving initial funding. In USA, you can get up to, let's say, $500,000 this way. And if you collect from various people, you can even stack up a couple of millions from angels only, not even talking to VCs. And angels are definitely easier to work with because they are not big companies. They don't have such big, strategies in mind. They are not such, hard pushers. They are just people. You can talk to them, and it's good to have angels. But as I said before, in Europe, it's very difficult. So probably what's going to happen in Europe, you probably will start directly with the VCs. VCs are also a very good choice. Those are venture capital funds. They'll give you money. There are institutions, groups of people. The VC that you saw yesterday, very good guys. I wish all VCs were like that, because you see there are people that you can talk to. They have some good strategy. They don't only see everything in numbers. Yes, for them numbers are very important, but they also look at different things, different other things. VCs are also a good idea. Actually, in our case, because we are from Europe, from Poland, we started with VCs, and we are funded by a business accelerator and VC fund. That's how we raised money. If we could, we would use angels and bootstrapping, but that wasn't possible at the time. Bootstrapping was not possible because we didn't have time, and angels were not kind of possible at our scale in Europe. And the last tip that I'm gonna give you is like go to San Francisco. And it's not a joke, I really mean it. Find a way to get there. The startup sauna sends some of the teams to California, but generally the problem is we are living here in Europe. It's a very good place to live. I probably won't be changing that in my life, but we'll see. But then the whole industry, the whole business works best in the US, and especially in California. And San Francisco is totally different than the rest of the United States. It's closely related to what happens in Europe. People think differently. The guys like you who just start their business, who just start doing games, they kind of think differently. It's great to get there and see how people work there, how the transfer of knowledge happens. You can go to a meeting there, meet a senior manager of YouTube who probably earns a gazillion of dollars, have a chat with him, drink a beer with him, and talk to him like a normal guy without being introduced or anything. That's what happens during all the events in California, in San Francisco, and there are tens of events like this every week, and you can just walk in, maybe pay $10 for entrance, and go there. If you don't have a lot of money, just remember there are places in San Francisco area to stay for really cheap rates. look for houses or villas that are shared by students or young people. There is couch surfing, so that you will sleep at random people places. So there are ways to be there. Visit some events, go to some studios. There is a great chance they will let you in, and you know, it's like, oh, Electronic Arts is in this building, Twitter is there, Facebook right behind me, and I'm right now standing under Microsoft offices. So everything is in the vicinity, so we just walk from company to company and see how it works. And that's something really great. There is a game accelerator called Yetizen in the United States. You can check them out. It's also a place, if you have a game, if you have an idea, if you have a studio, it might be worth talking to them if you want to learn something about Yetizen. We've been there for 3 months. I can tell you how it worked. We learned a lot from there. So that's kind of like a great experience, I believe. Now I'm going to show you just 5 minutes of how Criteria turned out to be after this year of work, because right now we are about to release it on the market. We're currently in Apple review now. Okay, so as I told you, this is a game for normal people, not for game developers. So everything that's gonna happen must be extremely simple. As you can see, we try to be eye candy from the very beginning. Let me try to create a simple level. We can start with a totally empty level, that's fine, but you can also use a template, so the level is almost ready out there for you. And look, it looks kind of good even being empty. Compare that to empty Unity layout. You got hundreds of windows, options, and everything. And here is a beautiful landscape. If you want to paint some terrain, you select the painting terrain tool and do it like this. So it's totally easy for people to paint anything they want. If you don't want it to look blocky, because now it looks kind of like Minecraft style, let's switch it to like more Mario style, so that slopes emerge here. And again, no sprite selecting, no anything like that. You just select the option and go ahead and draw it. You can have different terrains here. You want a player? Here you go. A player and a bank. Here I go, already running here. Maybe some pickups to pick up. All right, let's put some pickups. Maybe I need an enemy here. Right, enemy, let's put this nasty guy. I need to buy him for a couple of coin. And here you go, this guy. When he sees me, he's gonna charge at me. So that's kind of, a tricky situation to avoid him, but he fell down. Now I'm safe. And this way, adding stuff, as you can see, there is a lot of stuff to be had. Like you can also put stuff that is movable during the game. I'm now using my finger to move this stuff, rotating or adding new, checkpoints along the road. This is pretty easy, and that's it. There are no more options or no more, hidden controls. That's all that the game can. Like I'm just going to show you how a game can look created this way. And as you probably, sorry, I just said I want to see the advert. As you probably saw, there are various visual teams just to show you what the difference they make. They change everything. It's not only about backgrounds, because it's about everything changing its shape, color, and work. Look, the enemies look totally different. So with the skin, everything changes. And what can you do if you got... So in 5 minutes, you can have a totally playable Angry Birds style level or simple platformer level. But you have some more time to spare. You can create some, really nice, really great levels. This one is inspired by Indiana Jones. with no hassle. And that's what you are trying to bring to people, you know, the fun of creating games themselves at home. This took just a couple of hours creating. Imagine doing the self in Unity, having no assets, or in whatever other engine. We love Unity and we use Unity. But for if I gave Unity to my little nephew, he would just say, come on, what do I do with this? Because it's not an engine for, you know, kids, for people who have no technical skills. And as you can see, pretty big levels and games can be created, not only platformers, all kind of logic games, slingshot games, other games will be adding a lot of content along the way. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for staying here.